Hello, Chanute High School faculty. For the first of our 9 hours of professional development this year, I would like to take a look at formal lesson planning. Now, I know that as many of you heard the words formal lesson planning, your eyes started to roll, and it doesn't sound like a very exciting topic. But I would propose a theory that many of us as teachers, as we get into the routine of a school year, we get into this habit of just determining what the learning objective is and looking forward through a lesson into a few of the things that we want to accomplish, a few of the activities that we want to accomplish, to move students toward achieving a learning objective without a formal lesson plan. And I kind of relate this to coaching, in that when you're coaching and you want to be successful, then you outline a step-by-step approach in your practice plan. You know what you're going to do. In fact, a lot of coaches run a clock and they change activities the minute that the clock goes off and just move and run from activity to activity. And a classroom lesson plan should be much the same way, in that every minute should be planned for effectiveness and efficiency as much as possible in achieving that learning goal or that learning objective. So we want to combine a few things today. What we're supposed to do in hour one of our 9 hours is review Marzano's number one, identify similarities and differences. We're going to do that as a faculty and produce a formal lesson plan using Marzano's one. So please watch the following PowerPoint video and respond to the assigned task. Thanks for watching. So as promised, we're going to look at lesson plan work, and especially how lesson planning fits with the new Common Core curriculum. You can't hardly think about the formal lesson plan without thinking about Madeline Hunter. And we have the effective teaching model, which became very popular in the 80s and the 90s. And what I want to look at is how that teaching model is still effective today. There's a current movement that's real popular and that uses a formal lesson plan, and it's the Literacy First group. And if you look very closely, they have the same components in the lesson plan model as the Madeline Hunter model. Now, when you see this slide, you see what became known as the components of an effective lesson plan. Now, this is probably one of the more significant movements in the history of education, but it's also been one of the most abused movements in education. There were some misguided principals and superintendents in the 80s and the 90s, and maybe even some today, that thought that every lesson that a teacher taught needed to contain all of these components. And well, certainly every lesson needs some of those. State the objective, hopefully some kind of a set for the day, and then at the end you get down to having closure at the end of every lesson every day. So certainly some of those are necessary on a daily basis, but it would be almost difficult in a 47-minute to a 55-minute class period to get all of those components into a lesson every single day. When we look at this, we'll see some of the things that will fit very well into a Common Core. A formal lesson today needs to include collaborative practice. So if you looked at the previous slide with the components of a lesson plan, we would have to add collaborative practice, and then a very important piece to the Common Core. What do you know, and what can you do with what you know? So what do you need to learn? This new lesson plan might look like, what do you need to learn? What do you already know about this? Then the teacher input phase, followed by guided instruction. Collaborative practice. This is a 21st century skill, and as well as a Common Core. Independent practice, you can put these aren't all necessarily in order. These are just pieces of components of a lesson. And then the other piece we talked about just a minute ago, what do you know and what can you do with what you know? These are the things that move the lesson to being a Common Core lesson. Now, of course, I'm really oversimplifying this. There's a lot that we still have to learn and discuss to fully implement Common Core curriculum. But if we just generally think about the Common Core, think about students manipulating what they know, using what they know. It's not just about what you know, it's what can you do with what you know. And whether that's speaking, whether that's writing, or creating, or producing, and you see those things that I just mentioned again are things that exist in the 4th, 5th, and 6th levels of Bloom's. So while the concepts and principles of the lesson plan are very much alike, the implementation is going to look quite a bit different. So the pieces of a lesson plan. Every day you start your lesson planning, start with the objective. We need standards. The word objective, I really wish I would have left it off of this PowerPoint because the focus in the Common Core curriculum are standards. Standards. So I wish I would have wrote the standards up there. But the standard, what standard does the student need to learn? And you can write those as the student will, or have students, more importantly, I think, or better, have students articulate the objective. After this lesson, I will be able to start your lesson with that, and rather than with our student will. But that's semantics. The anticipatory set. From Madeline Hunter's anticipatory set, why do you need to know this? In the Common Core, why do you need to know this? We don't teach anything anymore by saying you're going to need to know this for college, or you're going to need to know this for the test. You're going to need to know this because it's in the curriculum. We need to talk to students about why they need to know this, how that is affecting their life, how they will use that, again, with the Common Core. What do you know, and what can you do with what you know? And also in the anticipatory set, many times is a peaking statement, which is an intriguing question or statement to introduce new learning. Something that stirs the student interest and creates a student with a yin or an urge to learn more. And then we have Madeline Hunter's direct instruction. In the new Common Core, that's teacher input or direct instruction. For teachers, it's the I do piece or the me piece. What is the me part of the lesson? This is the part of the lesson that I provide. I might establish the goals and purposes of that lesson. Students, here's why we're going to do this. This is where I provide verbatim notes, or more efficiently, interactive notes, where I provide part of the notes and then have students fill in the blanks with what they know, or using their textbooks or using your partners. This is where I want to model or demonstrate new learning. So during this phase, students are listening, they're taking notes, they're asking questions about the new learning. Teacher input phase, the I do. What do I do, or what are the me part of the lesson? After that is the guided instruction. Madeline called it guided instruction, but the new Common Core look is the we do. So we started class with the I do or the me, and now it's the we do. What does the entire class do together? This is the interactive instructional part of the lesson, where I work with students, where we work together. We check prompts and clues. This is where we use choral response, or drop the hammer, or think, pair, share, fist of 5, thumbs up, thumbs down, checks for understanding. The we do it. This is where we'd also meet the needs of different groups in the class through differentiation. A key piece to 21st century learning, and for the Common Core, interactive instruction. After this piece of the lesson is what Madeline called independent practice. In our Common Core lesson, it's the you do part of the lesson. So we had the I do, the teacher input, the we do, the things that the teacher and the class did together, very highly interactive. Now the you do part, or independent practice. In this part of the lesson, students are working alone. They might rewrite their notes and be encouraged to do so in their own words, which is a powerful learning tool in itself. They complete projects or assignments on their own. And then a very key piece for 21st century learning and for Common Core, Students take responsibility for the final learning outcomes, their own learning. Another huge piece in the Common Core practice is the Common Core curriculum lesson plan will be collaborative practice. The you do it together. So we had the I do, we do, you do. That's a very common lesson plan with some emerging schools now. But a piece that they need to add to that is the collaborative piece. The I do, teacher input. We do, what the class and the teacher do together. You do, the independent practice piece and the responsibility for your own learning. But then the you do it together piece, part of the lesson. You do it together, collaborative practice. In this phase, students work in pairs or groups. They do projects together. They determine roles and responsibilities in their group and in their sharing of their projects. They create authentic tasks, whether that's videos, PowerPoints, movies, songs, speeches, etc. There's a lot of peer interaction and questioning and high-level thinking that should take place during collaborative practice in a daily lesson plan. The I can part of the lesson is the part that the student can articulate in their own words. This is what I can now do as a result of this lesson. I can blah, blah, blah. The I can do is the most critical piece for the Common Core lesson plan. As a result of my new learning, I can. So if we simplify this lesson template, we'll simplify it in two ways. Every lesson plan starts with what do you need to learn? The I do, we do, you do piece. What's the teacher input? What's the guided instruction? And what will the independent practice be? I do, we do, you do. Or an even better template is just a little longer, but much better and much more suited to use in the Common Core curriculum. What is it you need to learn? The standard. Me, what do I do? Me, we, you, two, and I. Me, we, you, two, I. As you write a lesson, what do we want them to learn? The standard. Me, we, you, two, I. Me, teacher input. The direct instruction from the teacher. We, what we do together. A lot of times this is where we're really going to check for understanding and have a lot of interaction with our students. The you piece, once again, is on your own. Two or more, this perhaps could say two or more, but collaborative, not collaborated, apologize for that error. Collaborative practice of working together, and then the very critical piece of students being responsible for what they can do. I can do. Students can articulate and do. Use their new learning. So, think about the formal lesson plan and how you can really kick your own lesson planning and instruction up a notch by using this. And we have a task for our first hour of our 9 hours professional development. So using the previous slide, I'll put that on the website below. But using the previous slide, the Common Core lesson as a template to create a formal lesson plan for one class period. In that lesson plan, you're going to review Marzano, and you're going to incorporate identifying similarities and differences into any phase of the lesson plan where that will fit or where you choose to use that. Once you finish the lesson plan, submit the lesson plan to Mr. Wire by email. Do so as a PDF or a Word document, and that's due sometime in September. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to help you move along with that. You can find more directions below on the webpage. Thanks for listening.